Hey, my name is Matt Manney. This is my dad, Tom Manney. And over the last several months, we've sat around this table and recorded many of my dad's stories from his childhood and his career working as a mechanic for the last 50 years. And we put it all together in this book, Years, Grease, and God. And I'd love for him to go ahead and tell you a little bit more about his book and this project. So, Dad, what's this book and this project? What's it about?
Well, first, you're probably wondering why I had anything worthy to put into book form to express what took place in my life through the past 70 years. But as most people will know, is that you reach a point in your life where you feel almost a need to jot down a few things. And these are stories that I had told my children. A lot of them are funny little anecdotes of what took place when they were growing up, being around the garage and around the shop. Me being a 15-year-old boy, I started pumping gas. I had a love for cars, and that got me to the point in my life where my desire was to go into business for myself someday and be able to help folks keep their cars on the road, do something for people. I was always that kind of kid, that kind of guy, that kind of man that wanted to fix stuff for people, always tinkering and working on things. There's stories in this book that express my life through the ups and down times in it. Anybody who's been in business for themselves knows how difficult it can be at times. Just dealing with people, dealing with employees, trying to make payroll, paying the bills. And this touches upon all those things that take place, well, what would be the everyday life of anybody that's trying to make their way as a businessman. At one point in my life, I ended up in prison. And this book will go through the details of what happened there and how my faith in God, my love for Jesus Christ, was the one and only thing that really pulled me through those times. That combined with people I helped along the way, friends that I made along the way, people that I employed along the way, play into that whole picture, this whole story. I would really recommend that if you're struggling with things right now, that you're having difficulties trying to find your way or make decisions that are difficult, this might be a good story for you to pick up and read. I think it would be a real encouragement to those of you who need a little bit of extra encouragement and help along the way.
What's your favorite part of the book?
One of my favorite stories in this book is called Getting Someone on the Right Bus. I had an employee that I hired that was recommended by a friend of mine who was involved in an AA chapter. He had a gentleman that he had sponsored. Fran needed a job, so I needed somebody to pump gas for me. So you have to understand this is a 21-year-old man that's getting a job to pump gas. Fran was a great employee. He was very diligent in his job. He would work extra hours and not get paid for it, just so he could reconcile the money from his shift. However, Fran had a few problems. One of those was that he just was not a people person. He could be a little bit abrasive at times when it came to dealing with customers. And finally that came to a head where I had to take Fran across the street for a cup of coffee one day, sat down and had a discussion, and I had to leave Fran go. But from that point on, Fran moved on, was able to find a better fit for a job for him, one that he ended up at for the duration of his work career, which he retired from, over at a local hospital. And to this day, whenever I bump into Fran, I see him, he always has a big hug for me, and I likewise for him. We've just been able to cement a good relationship because he taught me a lot of things, and as well, I was able to give him a step in the right direction to push him forward along his story, his life.
Who's this book for? Who would be a good audience to read the book?
Well, good audience for this book would be anybody that knows me. You get a little more insight into my life and how God worked all things for good to them that love him, to them that know him. This will explain how that can take place and how you could experience that in your life as well. It's also a good story or a good book for those to read that are having some difficulties possibly right now, especially in the climate of what we're going through. This might be some help and encouragement to those who are facing some difficulties or some dilemmas in their lives and their businesses as they try to get through what our whole nation is experiencing right now.
Thanks so much for watching. You can find Gears, Grease, and God on Amazon. Just type in Gears, Grease, and God by Tom Manney or Matt Manney. Thanks so much for watching.